Hey everyone, and welcome back to Hoffman Engineering. Today we are diving into the most advanced resin 3D printing setup that I've tested so far, the HeyGears UltraCraft Reflex RS Turbo combo. This powerhouse trio of printer, washer, and curing station promises a streamlined workflow to take your resin 3D printing to the next level. The upgraded Turbo model is packed full of features, from its new 8K amber screen, force sensors that are monitoring your prints 80 times a second, to its auto-filling resin vat. I've been putting this machine through its paces for the past month, and trust me, there's a lot to talk about, so pour in some resin and let's get into it. Before we begin, this UltraCraft Reflex RS Turbo was provided for me to review by HeyGears. As with all of my reviews, they aren't paying me for this review, and everything I say is my own honest opinion after using this 3D printer for the last month. My videos do have affiliate links in the description, so if you're interested in anything you see in my videos, from printers, materials, or accessories, you can use those links to help support my channel. And HeyGears is offering my viewers a $50 discount, so you can use those links to save yourself some money. Thanks HeyGear. Let's get into it. The HeyGears UltraCraft Reflex RS Turbo is a resin-based MSLA 3D printer. Resin printers use light to cure photosensitive resin layer by layer, producing extremely detailed 3D prints. I have with me today the Reflex RS Turbo combo, which includes the 3D printer, washing station, and curing station. This gives you everything you need to go from 3D prints to final cured part, and I'm gonna dive into each of them. HeyGears released the original Reflex RS in September 2024, and now they have released the upgraded Reflex RS Turbo. The only change of the Reflex RS Turbo is the new 10.3-inch 8K amber screen. This screen contains a new set of dyed polarizers and optical film. HeyGears claims that this amber screen will achieve clearer, sharper results while enabling faster printing. It's also designed for longer-term print stability, where the amber screen has a more even light intensity and will maintain consistent light intensity over time. So let's check that out. If I put a sheet of paper over the screen and turn it on, we can see a remarkably consistent light intensity. For comparison, here's what my current daily driver, the Anycubic Photon Mono M5, looks like. You can see a definite grid where each UV diode slightly overlaps. This means that the resin will cure unevenly in those areas. So the very even light intensity of the Reflex RS Turbo results in consistent prints across the entire build plate as seen here. You can pack the plate full of parts and every one will turn out great regardless of position. The 10.3-inch 8K screen has a native pixel size of just 29.7 microns. Combined with anti-aliasing and fuzzing algorithms, the detail that you can achieve is incredible. The rest of the Reflex RS Turbo is the same as the original Reflex RS. If you have a Reflex RS, you can purchase the new screen and light intensity calibration tool and upgrade your Reflex RS to the Turbo model. The printer itself has a dark amber lid which lifts open to reveal the build plate and resin vat. The total build volume is 222mm by 122mm by 228mm tall. It is not the largest resin printer out there, but it's a decent enough size where I never felt limited by space. The build plate has a single locking lever to securely hold it in place. The plate has a hexagonal pattern etched into it. It provides the perfect amount of adhesion. Parts remain securely attached during printing, but afterwards were able to be removed without damaging the parts or the print bed. And trust me, I have mangled print beds before. I never had any part fail because it became detached from the print bed. In fact, I only had 2 prints fail during my entire month of testing. The first was a model that came with its own supports and it popped off of those supports, but using HeyGears software to add supports allowed that part to print without issues. The second I'll talk about in a minute. I have 2 small comments about the print bed. First, the bottom has 4 screw holes that poke through the bed. Those holes can leave artifacts on the bottom of prints. Usually you are printing with a raft, so those little bumps aren't an issue. But if you are printing flat parts directly on the bed, then it can show. Second, the top of the build plate is perfectly flat, so resin doesn't naturally run off of it. You either have to scrape it off or print this awesome side drain which holds the print bed over the resin vat to drain off all the extra resin. I highly recommend that second option. This side drain is very convenient. The Reflex RS Turbo has auto bed leveling using its floating screen. Before the start of each print, it'll home the bed, and actuators under the vat can move it up to 0.15 degrees, adjusting up to 240 microns for automatic leveling. When you first set up the Reflex RS Turbo, you might need to adjust the bed more than that, but don't worry, the printer will walk you through exactly what is needed. The print arm has force sensors built in, so it knows exactly how hard each of the corners of the bed is pushing against the screen with 0.1 newtons accuracy. It'll then prompt you how to turn the 2 adjustment screws to get that force even across the bed. Once you you are within that range, the floating screen bed leveling will take care of the rest. Those force sensors allow for some awesome features that I haven't seen on many other resin printers. It is constantly monitoring those sensors up to 80 times a second, and it will dynamically adjust its motion to ensure optimal print speeds. You can see that force data while it's printing. Each layer it peels off the vat results in this heartbeat graph. That data also allows it to detect anomalies. Failed prints can leave small pieces of debris in the resin vat. When starting a new print, it can detect unusual force on the vat caused by pieces of debris as small as 0.2 millimeters. I threw in this small chunk of support into the vat and started a print, and the printer detected it and warned me about it before starting the print. That feature worked great. The included resin vat comes with a pre-installed FEP release film. The Reflex RS Turbo will keep track of the usage of this vat and give you an estimated lifespan before needing to replace it. I printed over 50 prints with 5 liters of resin used and had about 25% remaining according to the software. The vat has a spout on the corner that makes it easy to pour extra resin back into the bottles. I'd also recommend printing HeyGears example filter holder. That model was very convenient. Another simple but great addition are these little plastic drip trays. They are molded to fit the edge of the resin vat and catch every drop that otherwise might have fallen onto the printer or screen. I don't know why I haven't made something like this for my other resin printers, but it is a great idea. At the back of the vat we see the auto-fill pin. The Reflex RS Turbo uses HeyGears resin cartridge system. These cartridges contain 1 liter of resin and have a check valve at the top. Slide in the resin cartridge into the slot at the top and the pin will open that check valve, allowing the resin to flow into the vat. It'll then keep the vat filled to the proper level, which in this case is about 600 milliliters full. That autofill works perfectly. It kept the level consistent and I never had any issues with it overfilling. And the check valve will automatically close when you lift the cartridge, so you don't have to worry about the resin spilling. For the autofill to work properly, you'll want to use the adjustable feet on the bottom of the Reflex RS Turbo to make sure that the vat is level on your table. HeyGears has 12 resin types with validated settings for the Reflex RS Turbo. Each resin is formulated for different properties. You have formulations for super high detail, for flexibility, for durability, for general purpose use, and everything in between. Most of them come in the cartridge format, which includes an RFID chip to let the printer know what resin type has been loaded. A few of the resins don't come in the special cartridge bottles though, and thus require you to manually pour them into the vat and keep it full. And this is where the second of my only 2 print failures come from. I forgot to add enough resin to the vat, and I hadn't adjusted the feet to make the printer level, so I had one corner of the vat run dry and part of a print didn't print. These are the types of failures that the autofill cartridge system prevents, and it was entirely user error. HeyGears also sells a special vat with extended capabilities. This vat has a heating element built in, which will warm the resin to the optimal 22 degrees Celsius temperature. This ensures that resin will flow properly between layers. It's summertime in Florida currently, so my workshop is already above that temperature range, but I can see that heater being very useful during colder months. This resin vat also works with HeyGears' optional pulsing release module, which will pulse air in between the layers of the vat's release film, greatly reducing the peeling force required. I don't have the module with me, so I couldn't test that out directly, but it's good to know about. The final bit of hardware is the 5-inch touchscreen display at the front. This touchscreen is excellent. It's very responsive to touch and it worked well with gloved hands. The menus are all nicely laid out and it seems every feature that you can adjust has prompts which walk you through that process. The Reflex RS Turbo has Wi-Fi connection, which we'll use for over-the-air firmware updates as well as sending prints wirelessly from the slicer. That slicer is HeyGears Blueprint Studio. This software and the related Blueprint Go mobile app is the main brains of the operation. Within Blueprint Studio, you can connect to all of your printers, washing stations, and curing stations, and send files wirelessly to them. Blueprint Studio has their own cloud storage where you can keep up to 20 projects at a time, or you can save projects locally. Starting a new project, we can select all of our options, including what resin types we are using and what parameters and layer heights we want to use. HeyGears had done all of the hard work for us, providing validated settings for each of the resin types. Most resins have a 50 micron and a 30 micron layer height setting, while some only have a 50 micron setting. So we just need to select what resin and layer height we want to use, and the slicer handles the rest. I found these built-in profiles to work perfectly with HeyGears resins. I tested 3 different resin types that have drastically different material properties, and I could tell each profile was fine-tuned for the best results, which we'll look at in a second. However, this is a big restriction, as you don't have direct control over any printing settings from the layer height to exposure times or print speeds. So if you aren't using HeyGears specially designed resins, you'll have to find a profile which could work with that resin. That restriction in settings also limits you to mostly 50 or 30 micron layer heights. The slicer was easy to work with. and has every feature that you'd expect, from auto orientation, hollowing and hole placement, to support generation and part layout. There is a one-click button which will run through that workflow automatically, or you can manually run through the steps. I found automatic support generation to be excellent. It has a good balance between having enough supports for each overhang, while keeping the supports themselves thin and easy to remove with minimal marks. And you can always add additional supports, or adjust each parameter of the support pillars. HeyGears is continuing to update Blueprint Studio with major features. Just in the month I was testing, they added the ability to have multiple build plates within a single project, simplifying larger projects. I love to see that kind of ongoing development. So now that we have a project, we can slice it. Unfortunately, there is no slice preview. It just happens in the background after you click slice. Slicing is pretty slow. It takes about 1 minute for it to slice in the background. Sliced files can then be sent to the printer, washer, or cure stations. Only the printer allows direct upload via LAN. You have to sync the files to the cloud in order to send to the washer or curing station. But once uploaded to the Reflex RS Turbo, printing is very straightforward. Select the file you want to print, which defaults to the last one uploaded, and press print. It'll then run through all the pre-print steps. If you have the heater resin vat, then it will heat the resin up. Then it'll move the bed down, check for debris, automatically level the bed, and start printing. The amber lights inside give some visibility into the printer while printing, and the heartbeat of the force on the resin vat helps you keep an eye on the print. And once the print has finished, which you'll get a notification of from the app, you can put on the awesome drip tray, and if you printed the side drain model, you can remove the build plate and let the excess resin drain off. While that's happening, let's look at the UltraCraft wash. It's included with the Reflex RS Turbo combo, or can be purchased separately. It comes with 2 washing boxes and the wash base. You pop open the lid of one of the boxes and use the scraper to remove the prints from the print bed and place them into the box. The first time you use it, you'd fill that box up with isopropyl alcohol and secure the lid. Then you place the box onto the base. You could set the washing duration and speeds manually, or using Blueprint Studio, you send your file over to the wash station, which will automatically select the best speeds and durations for the wash cycle. Then you use the knob on the wash station to start the cycle. The base will then shake the washing box, causing the alcohol inside to slosh around your printed parts. This is a very effective way to clean excess resin off of prints. That sloshing motion gets alcohol moving in between every nook and cranny, including the insides of hollow parts. Wash cycles were generally between 3 and 5 minutes. And now comes my favorite part. Once the wash cycle has finished, you place your box full of alcohol on top of the other empty box. You then open up the ball valve at the bottom and the air valve up top, and all of the alcohol will drain down into the other container, leaving your clean parts in the top. I'd then use a spray bottle of alcohol to give the parts one final rinse, and all of that alcohol drains into the bottom container as well. And from there, subsequent washes are even easier. Place your prints into the empty box, place the other box with the alcohol on top, and open the valve to drain the alcohol into the box with your prints. This is a very elegant solution. It made washing and drying prints amazingly easy. Even if you own non-HeyGears printers, I'd consider picking up the washing station. I loved this thing. The only drawback is that the washing can cause parts to crash into each other, very occasionally leaving marks. I noticed it on larger parts like these large column prints. I think the 2 columns were heavy enough that the alcohol wasn't able to keep them separate. These larger busts also show the same marks, but most of the time, even extremely delicate prints survive the washing cycle without damage. The washing station also has a shake mode, where you can control the RPM and time. I use this for shaking up resin bottles before loading it into the printer. And once your prints have been washed, dried, and the supports removed, then you can use the UltraCraft cure station to perform the final cure. This box has an extremely mirrored interior, with strong dual wavelength UV LEDs to cure the resin parts from all angles as it spins on the moving turntable. Just like the wash station, you can set the durations manually, or send the file from Blueprint Studio via the cloud upload, which will automatically set the durations. The cure times vary based on the resin type. I saw between 5 minutes and 20 minutes. The UltraCraft cure can also heat up to 60 degrees Celsius, allowing you to bake or anneal resins that might benefit from those higher temperatures. With my test prints, the cure station worked well on a variety of resins I tested it with. However, I don't have a good way of quantifying how effective it is. If you have ideas on how you'd compare different curing stations, let me know your suggestions in the comments. So with all of the specs out of the way, let's take a look at my example prints from the Reflex RS Turbo. I tested it with 3 different resin types: the volcanic gray PAF10, the ash gray PAP10, and the pale purple PAS10. Those names are tough for me to remember, so I remember them as PAF10, where the F stands for flexible, the PAP10, where the P stands for precision, and the PAS10, where the S stands for standard. Starting with a volcanic gray PAF10, this is a durable, semi-flexible, PVC-like material. This resin excels for parts that will be handled, perfect for models, figurines, and miniatures. And looking at this test card, the level of detail is exceptional. Just look at the texture at the top of this structure, and the detail of the basket weave shows through. This tree scene is 4 separate parts glued together. The detail of the PAF10 is outstanding, and the flexibility is perfect for parts like these crossbow bolts. They can bend without breaking. Thicker parts are not very flexible though. It can be good for functional parts where durability is important. This resin bottle filter holder printed excellently, and the threads fit the bottle perfectly. The flexibility can cause printability issues on parts with larger surface areas that are being printed entirely on supports. The way that I had this model oriented caused this corner section to become detached while printing. So the print completed successfully, but the resulting curve caused it to no longer fit correctly. So you might need to add additional supports on areas like this. The ash gray PAP10 resin is a high precision resin for miniatures and finely detailed structures. The detail it can produce is incredible. I loved printing with this resin. Just look at the detail of this dragon, from the chainmail to the fine pattern of the armor. Every pillar of this Prusa test print printed perfectly, and the extremely thin details of the spokes of this bike to the structure of this tower are just pristine. The overhangs that the PAP10 can print without supports are incredible, with it handling even a 10-degree overhang that's 20 millimeters long without issues. It was only when it got to very thin walls that it started to struggle. Walls 0.24 millimeters thick started waving, and it started failing to print at 0.12 millimeters thick. That is some of the best results of a resin that I've tested. PAP10 also works well for batch productions of miniatures, although as always, you'll want to be conscious of support placement. Sometimes Blueprint Studio's auto orientation will flip the miniatures so that the supports are on important details like the face, so you'd want to orient those manually for the best surface finish. And finally, I tested the PAS10. This is HeyGears standard modeling resin. It comes in a non-autofill bottle, so you'll need to add it to the vat manually. It has a matte surface finish that helps hide layer lines, and is durable and impact resilient. It's also the least expensive resin that HeyGears sells, so it's good for rapid prototyping. Compared to the flexible and high precision resins, the standard resin has less detail than the other resins. The prints still look really good. It's only when comparing the same models side by side can you see the differences in the fine details of the prints. You can see it in the hair, headdress, and armor filigree of these prints. And the pattern at the top of this test structure is not as pronounced as the other resin types. But for larger prints, or prints where super fine detail isn't as important, the PAS10 can be a great option. In conclusion, I loved working with HeyGears UltraCraft Reflex RS Turbo combo. I have plenty of resin printing experience over the years, but they have mostly been with entry to mid-level machines, so a lot of these features were new to me. The Reflex RS Turbo brings an integrated experience, from the tailored resin profiles to the wash and cure stations that streamline the resin printing process. You can go from model to final post-process part without having to tweak any settings or guess at any step of the process. The printer itself was a pleasure to work with. The auto bed leveling worked great. The 4 sensors on the print bed enabled many advanced features, from guiding the initial bed leveling to the constant heartbeat of each layer during the printing process. Fail-safes such as debris detection reduces failed prints, and the upgraded amber screen of the Turbo model has an extremely consistent light intensity, which equates to the high detailed prints that I achieved over the entirety of the bed. It's also great to see an upgrade path for existing owners of the Reflex RS by purchasing the new screen. I had a great experience with the rest of the combo. The big innovation is the 2-box workflow of the washer. Draining the alcohol between the 2 boxes made washing and drying a breeze, although you do have to be careful about the agitation causing larger parts to collide with each other. The cure station evenly cured my prints, and the baking feature can be useful with some of HeyGears' more engineering-focused resins. But the integrated workflow has a darker side: vendor lock-in. The Reflex RS Turbo is designed to work with HeyGears Slicer and the use of HeyGears resin. While you can pour any resin into the vat, they don't restrict by RFID or keep track of how much resin from a bottle was used. You cannot adjust exposure settings within the slicer. The best you can hope for is that one of HeyGears' resin profiles works for your brand of resin. For a business looking for an easy-to-use ecosystem with proven settings that just work every time, then the Reflex RS Turbo combo is exactly what you're looking for. Consistent results with excellent details, print after print. That's what I saw of my testing. But if you're a hobbyist looking for a machine to tinker with and experiment with different resins from different brands, then this might not be the printer for you. The Reflex RS Turbo has just been released and has a super early bird discount until June 19th, 2025. The Reflex RS Turbo combo, which is what I showed here with the printer, wash, and cure stations, is on sale for $1,686 US. If you just want the printer itself, the Reflex RS Turbo is on sale for $799 US. The wash station by itself is $359 US, and the cure station is $749 US. $6. As for resin prices, the flexible PA-F10 is $55 for a 1 kilogram bottle. The high precision PA-P10 is a little more expensive at $59 for a 1 kilogram bottle. And finally, the standard PA-S10 resin is $33 for a 1 kilogram bottle. As far as vendor specific resins go, those prices are actually pretty good. And if you use my link in the description, HeyGears is giving my viewers an additional $50 discount on top of these early bird prices, so you can save a few more bucks and pick up another bottle of resin on the house. I think this printer fits right in the sweet spot for small businesses looking to ramp up resin printing production, but not wanting to spend double or triple the price on a more commercial focused ecosystem. And the price of the printer itself is still accessible to the hobbyist that doesn't want to tinker with the machine, but wants to use it for the tool that it is. I had a great experience with the Reflex RS Turbo combo, and I could highly recommend this resin printer. So thank you all for watching my review of HeyGears UltraCraft Reflex RS Turbo combo. What was your favorite feature? What features do you think it's missing? Let me know in the comments below. I have plenty of upcoming projects and reviews, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on those videos coming soon. And if you are still in the market for resin 3D printers, check out my recent review of Formlab's Creator series of resins, designed for hobbyist resin printers. You might find it fascinating. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.